Welcome back. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, on the program today, we are taking a look at remembering the Chibok Girls kidnapping 10 years after. Of course, on April 14, the night of 14th to 15th, 276 schoolgirls were kidnapped from their dormitory in Chibok. Of course, when the news broke, a lot of controversies around that particular incident, wondering how this could have happened in a school. But of course, 10 years after, has anything changed? Have we learned lessons from that particular incident, especially concerning security and otherwise? And that particular incident, what impact has it on education, especially in the northern part of Nigeria? That is what we intend to take a look at on the program today. And joining the conversation is Director, Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS, Professor Anthony Kila. Thank you, Professor, for being here on the program today.
Good morning. Good to be here.
So let's just, track back to what happened 10 years ago. If you can remember, where were you when that incident happened?
Oh God, I think I was somewhere in Europe, not England, because I remember that I read the news not in English. Yes, I think I was in Italy. Okay, yes, it was rather shocking because the news then the headline was something like Ragazzi rubati in Nigeria, which means children stolen in Nigeria. That was they used kidnap. They wrote stolen, yes, and that was the first thing that shook me about the story. Yeah, that's a good way to start from. And if we look at from then till now, I think it would be right to observe that event was a global shock. Because the world had never seen anything like that, and that is why you could have personalities, celebrities, and leaders across the world carry the flag saying, bring back our girls, because it was a phenomenal event that occurred in Nigeria, something that will happen in which hundreds of young people would disappear, almost like a rapture kind of situation. But in this case, it wasn't, because we know they were kidnapped. But what has followed it since then, and idea say up till now, so we have a global shock, is a national failure. A national failure in terms of the fact that 10 years we've not been able to overcome that.
Right.
Or limit it. There is a slight thing that gives us an impartial joy. The students of law and security and strategy of security will know that victory in security is when you can avoid things happening, not when you recoup it. The Nigerian police force, security agents, will be winning when we're not attacked or robbed, not when we find who did it. When we find who has done something, that is a draw, to use a football language. Victories avoid it happening. So there's a slight victory, which is almost a draw, in the fact that 10 years later, it happened again, and the new people in power have been able to sort of solve the problem. But ideally, it shouldn't happen again.
Right.
So global shock, national failure, then regional indolence. And I like to say this, I like to be very clear and put on record for it. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. But the North has failed its people.
How so? In
terms of education and security. With all the emirs, sultan, honorable this, honorable that, all the people, powerful people in the North, for that group of elites not to be able to come together to say, never again in our land, we are going to, as a people, take charge and make sure that we use it to negotiate for politics, we use it to impute in governance, we use it as our take to the table in terms of strategy, is a failure. And it must be said.
Okay, when the incident happened, the present vice president was the governor of that state, and as we speak, 89 of those girls are still in the kidnappers' den. From the body language of this government, do you think they are going to do something different from the previous government, and what should be put in place to at least assuage the sufferings of their parents in terms of their emotion and their psychological state of mind?
Well, I think I kind of vouch for the government, and I'm not interested in their body language. I think they ought to do something about it, because it's a continuum, and it's a continuum of the pact that was given 9 years ago. Because, and I say this, you know, as a founding member of the APC, that this government that pushed out the PDP went into power saying that one of the reasons why you should vote for us is that we will take care of security.
Right.
The lanky, fair man that has gone to Daura now, that one was sold as being said that if a general goes there, he would deal with the whole thing. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves that 8 years of our life and that has not happened. That's a terrible thing. And it is important that we look at this thing not in terms of politics, policy, or theory,
right,
but as human beings, as parents, as brothers and sisters. To imagine that somebody from your blood and flesh, a young person, has disappeared for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 1 month, a year, 10 years, that's a terrible thing. I think all Nigerian leaders should be ashamed on everybody. And the leadership is not just political leadership. Right. It's security, it's community, it's religious, it's everybody. It's an indication that we as a people, especially starting from leaders, we have issues with the value of life. And also value of competence, the ability to do the right thing. Because what is happening is that, how many are bandits, you know, how many people are bandits in the world? That it's a very minute number of people are causing damage to the lives of many and are tarnishing the reputation, the dreams, and the sanctity of very many. That's a very sad place to be.
Right. I mean, you've talked about the fact that 10 years down the line, in terms of security, things haven't really changed that much. And just this weekend, yesterday, the U.S. also reiterated commitment, especially in line with the commemoration of the 10th anniversary of the Chibok Girls kidnapping, that they will continue to help Nigeria in terms of security, safety, and all other issues. Yeah. Of course, the U.S. is not alone in this call. Other countries are also pledging to help Nigeria. So if other countries are pledging to help Nigeria, what should Nigeria herself be doing so that issues around security can be given that priority that we genuinely think should go into that aspect of our lives?
I think the first thing Nigeria should do is to get a sense of pride and stop being a nation of needy that everybody's helping. We've become a nation of beggars. We need to get our act together and look at it and say, how do we change this? You see, there's a tendency we have as a people to look at consequence, not sequence. We have, you'll not be surprised, after this Chibok thing happened, and I'm going to link it to welfare and other things, there's been a lot of papers, there's been a lot of ideas, Safe School Initiative, what to do. So we're very good at planning. But I was not surprised. I didn't wait for 10 years to know we're not going to get anywhere with it, because what shapes our life are intangibles, not really tangibles. You see, what we have outside, our microphone, the mug we have, and for our viewers at home, the chair you're sitting on, the clothes you're wearing, that is a product of your mind. Everything we see around us starts from what we think inside, our value, our perception of the world. A society that cannot have a decent school, that you go to the classrooms, you want to cry if you value education like I do, to say, is this children, this little child could be anything tomorrow. He could end up marrying my child. He could, anything, he could come near me. If this is the way they're going to bring them up, then the society is in trouble. A society that has not given education the right value cannot give security the right value. The place to start from, if you want to judge people, and I want our viewers to look at it, think of anybody you know. If you want to judge good or bad people, watch the way they deal with children, especially other people's children. It will tell you a lot about them. A leadership does not understand that the lives of the little one, and the best thing you can give little one outside food is education. A leadership does not understand that the highest priority should be for that, cannot get most things right. So what should we be doing? we need to really have frank conversations with ourselves, go back to basic and say, let us find values in ourselves, in our life, to know that life is sacred and it has to be cured well. Once we do that, then the help that comes will be complementary and will be used well. So if you say, what have we done so far? You have no proof that we've done a lot, because we should be talking CCTV cameras, network of security, information network, awareness. But to do all that, you have to value it.
Right.
If people in Lagos think that what happens in Chibok does not concern them or is foreign, we're not going to get anywhere. Nigerians need to understand that wherever kidnapping, terrorism, any act of something happens, it is happening to us.
Right,
as
so
a
it
people
must be
everywhere.
collective.
It must be collective. It is humanity that is at stake. That
Okay.
is what is going to make us change.
I was reading a particular newspaper yesterday, and the parents of the Chibok Girls did say that it's becoming something like a ritual when it is the anniversary for the Chibok Girls incident that happened, that government officials will come in SUVs, they will bring bouquet, and at the end of everything, nothing will be done for members of the community, nothing will be done to manage the crisis, emotional crisis that the parents are going through. And when you look at some of our schools now, our security network and our security architecture is still porous. Is it that we have not learned anything at all from that incident that happened 10 years ago? And what should government be doing to engage the parents of these girls? They are suffering emotionally.
You're very right. I mean, the answer to your question, the short answer is yes, it's a sign that we've not learned a lot or not learned enough. But I think I place more value on people than government generally. And I think the parents of the children, the communities that want to help them, the leadership of all those that care need to do something about their caring. If government comes once in a year, next time they come, you should boo them. Before they come, you should be on their neck. They need to get some people. I think lobbying is not something we have in our system, but they need some active society. They should get some people whose job is to be on this matter of Chibok case every day. People who are not government, people who are community people, people who are activists. I propose to, and that is part of the indolence I'm talking about, I propose the people who care about the Chibok Girls, who truly care, should form a community and go and get youth corpers, go and get voluntary people, call people like me that bring knowledge of law and governance, and from an association whose task is to follow up on the Chibok Girls, so that every day they wake up, that is the only thing they are doing. That is their full-time job. You see, if they do that, they will write every day to legislator, they write every day to the governor, they write to the IG, they go and knock on their door, they'll bring psychologists, they come and lobby people like you to talk about it and say, what should we do about these girls? So that, because at the moment we have two situations. We have the ones that are captured by kidnappers and there's no access to them. Then we have the ones that are captured by government that the parents cannot see. They say they don't have access to those children. Now that's a very strange situation. And I think, you see, until people, we think about things that, it's good to think about food and road, but until we understand that what matters more towards is life and process, we're not going to get it right. And we're not going to get it right. So when you ask me what government can do, I'm more interested in what people can do. What government does, in most cases, is a reaction to what people want.
But when you look at the porosity of our security in our schools, it is a government job to take
care of it. It is a
government
government job, but you see, if people are not holding their feet to the fire, government is not going to do it. And I want our viewers to think about it. Think of your offices, think of your family. Most people do not do their duty until they're forced to do it. There's consequence if they don't do it. It's the thing of humanity. That's the way we are. There has to be rules and regulation. When election comes, Chibok people or people who care about Chibok should make security an issue. Let our dons in our academic universities, all our experts, let them come up with designs on how to make the security less porous. Then let's talk about the finance. If government says, I like your idea, I don't have money, let people understand finance, show them how to do it with private partnership initiative so that they don't spend money. That is why I go back to where I started from. Our chairs, our bed, everything we sit on is a product of ideas. It is not the physical thing, just minimal part of it. It's just the output. It is the ideas, value, vision to say that we have to solve this problem. Government needs to be reminded, needs to be forced to do it. It's a shame, but that's the way life is. We have a tendency in this land to look up to government. That's part of why we're in trouble. We shouldn't be looking up to government. We should be looking government straight in the eyes or even down at them. As in people who are there to work for us. But I'm sure I say this and people will be laughing at us that you think the president is working for you. But actually I do think so. I actually think the president is working for me because I think I'm a citizen. I think I pay my tax. I think I voted him in.
Okay, and that should be
the right thing to do. And I personally, and I say this because of young people, at this point, I want to address young people, students and other people coming up. Do not let your life be dictated by reality. Let your conviction, your vision, your idea be your guide, so that you are bigger than the reality. If reality is that everybody kowtows to what is wrong, do not conform. Greatness is achieved by non-conformity.
All right, so you can't decide to, I mean, everybody can be going the right way and then you're going...
And just going away. Yes, the road not taken. I see road divided. I took one.
Right.
That road not taken.
So, Prof, since 2014, when this incident happened, there has been more than 10 other school kidnappings or abductions since then. And like Ajibola asked earlier, is it that we haven't learned any lessons at all? And while you were speaking earlier, you said there have been papers, there have been reports that could have been presented on what happened that day and how some of these things could have been prevented. And so if we're not expecting much from government but more from the people, which means that everybody's government wherever you are. So what more can we be doing as a people, as a country, as a government, perhaps going forward, to start preventing some of these issues from reoccurring?
I think there are two actions. There's direct actions and there's indirect action. The direct action is to take our stances to government and say, look, you need to do this. Few people have enough money to build fences around their school. It has to be government. But we can remind government, as we said, that you must build this thing. What is your timeline for building it? Why can't you build it? There's a problem. Let's talk about it. And perhaps donors can actually, now that they've asked people not to spray money again, maybe instead of spray money, people should be buying fences to say, for my 68th birthday, for my 70th birthday, I'm donating a fence for one school in Chibok. Those are the kind of people, but awareness is very crucial. We need to, and that is something that is missing. At least Lagos does it, in fairness to Lagos State, because I travel across the country, so I'm able to see the difference. This idea of we're all in charge of security, this kind of campaign, on the last London, they want to see it, call, sort it. That kind of thing needs to be, that awareness campaign needs to be done in areas that are at risk, to say, what do you do? So, if I was talking about lessons learned, let's talk about a lesson that's not learned. After that incident happened, the people of the Northeast, and Nigerians generally, should be an expert on what to do if I see suspect kidnapping.
Right.
Then maybe we need to come to people like you for your station. There should be some short adverts saying this is what you should do if you see something suspicious. We should all know it by now. That's the kind of thing that will help. So awareness, engagement, intervention, and action. Those are the kind of things that we can do as a people, and of course government.
We know that in the North we still have some challenges convincing them to embrace education. Looking at this incident of the Chibok girls, won't it discourage parents from sending their children to school? And what do you think traditional rulers, community leaders can do to force government to do the needful for the remaining 89 girls still in captivity?
I think there's something evil about the community, government, traditional leaders, and all these people who are saying their people are struggling to embrace education. I say this because most of them, their own children are very educated. Most of them send their children to school, boys and girls. They even send them abroad. And evil is when you know what is good and you do bad. There is ignorance or folly or stupidity, then there is evil. And it's very good to know the difference. So this idea that the people are struggling to embrace education is just sort of rubbish. Leadership will make people see the value of education, see the advantage, and drive you towards it. Especially if you can guarantee that if you go to school, you get a good degree, you get a good grade, you're likely to do better in life. Of course, if you go to school and you get a good grade and there's no guarantee that you do well in life, that is already killing the value of education. People don't know, but that is the reason why there are sponsorship. That is the reason why if you get a first class degree, university will tell you to stay, or they'll give you a job, they will advertise you. It is to ensure that education has value, and we need to keep doing that. If everybody graduates and everybody comes a beggar of your degree, then you're killing the value of education. That is important. Security matters. Of course, no matter how good education is, if you're not sure that your children will be safe, you want to think twice. You know, even people who have money, I work as a consultant for a lot of private schools, and one of the things we talk about is you have to ensure if somebody's going to pay you the kind of awesome amount that people pay for education in some private schools, the ones who know it, you want to be sure the place is safe and secure and comfortable. Conducive is the term. So yes, government will manage schools, but you're right, the leaders and community, what can they do as well? I think they need to work with them. I think churches and mosques should become pillars of education, to donate, to sustain them. Instead of what some churches do now, that they set up schools and the schools are more expensive than other people's schools. Yeah, those are ridiculous things, and we need to call it out. There's a tendency in this country to speak around things. I think we need to be clear about it if we want to solve it, that it's unacceptable that in the name of the Lord we gather money, we build a church, and the school becomes more expensive than business. It's just not good. If God does not talk, let me talk. And say it to that.
God won't come down anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So the community powers, mosques and churches, they need to get together to help this thing. They need to encourage parents to go to send their children to school. If need be, they need to sit around schools to make sure it's safe. Government, now this is one thing that government needs to do, that only government can do. Show force. At the moment, it is good people that are afraid. Let the bad people be afraid. Let the kidnappers be afraid. The essence of the state, the essence of government, is monopoly of legitimate and superior power. That is where you have the army, that's where you have the police. Those who have seen me on the road, if you look at my size, the only reason the policeman will stop me and I will stop is because he's wearing a uniform. The government says so, because most of them I'll beat them physically up like a boxer. But you see, you respect that. So the state that has legitimate superior force should deploy it. If the state is defeated in a matter of force, that is a failed or failing state. And we need to think it that way. That kidnappers, terrorists, bandits, they are waging war on not just the life of the people, but the legitimacy of sovereign power. So because of that, let the state fill up the place with security. Let people have a desire to kidnap, but let them not be able to do it because out of fear of what will happen to them if they do it. And I think that's one thing that the state had to do, deployment of forces.
Prof, I'd like for you to build on those points you just raised, and the fact is that in recent times we've also seen that these bad guys in code are not fearful of the state actors. And so is there a way technology can help also in this regard? And so if you have the mind and then you're planning to attack a facility, you probably will also be scared of doing that because you know that you could be caught. But if you have people traveling hours and then getting away with some of these things, it feels like the state is not on top of the situation. So how can technology be used here to also help instill some fears in the minds of these actors?
Oh no, you're very spot on. Maybe they should come and recruit you.
No.
Become an advisor. Security can go a very long way. You see, because actually security, that's the amazing thing. It's not a good example, but you see the kind of war they're fighting in the world now. They're talking about drones. Nobody's going to go and carry a gun and shoot one by one again. Technology will go a long way in averting a lot of our problems. Not just security, even corruption. But in the case of security, if you have the idea that you go into a place and there's CCTV cameras everywhere, that there's satellite interception that can get you, it reduces the crime. People steal because they're hungry, because they're evil, because they're mischievous. But and there'll be more thieves. But what stops a lot of people from stealing or doing bad things is the fear of getting caught.
Right.
Left to people, if we all know, if you leave a room open and make sure nothing will happen, anybody will steal anything there. Most people will steal more. And technology is one way that can really do that. And this is where, again, the states need to fly higher than bandits. This is where our Air Force, aerial technology, digital technology, intelligence, this is the missing part that only government can do, unless people decide to go and hire it themselves. I have seen houses in this country, I've not even seen that level of thing in foreign countries, where this kind of security they have there, you take permission to breathe if you're not careful, because you're wondering that, I hope I'm not taking too much oxygen, because before they go and look for me. When you see all the kind of lights and all the cameras they have there. And it is doable, and the government needs to learn. We don't even need to go abroad to learn it. There's an example I was giving. It's about money. Of all the things people steal, what is the most attractive thing to steal? It is money. It is, it is cash. That is one thing that you take it, you're tempted to think they won't catch you. Whilst other things, you don't know where they are. Everybody knows where money is. It's in the bank. But guess what? People don't go robbing banks. You know why? Because it's not easy to do so. If you look at the number of crimes that's going on in the world generally, from everything from lying to the people who don't do my assignment and say the internet didn't work, all the kind of things, anything you do to cheating on your spouse, one crime that is very low is bank robbery. It's stealing in bank, for people to go and steal inside the bank. You know why? Because there's no access, because it's not easy, because chances are you're not going to get away with it.
Right.
Chances are you enter, you can't come out. Chances are you cannot treat that safe. Most of what they've used is technology. That's the point. It's not really people holding guns. It's because the safe is digital, because the doors are this and that, because there are cameras. The state needs to learn from the bank. You see, how do we secure our land? So most areas that are at risk should be turned to vault, should be turned to people that even if you try it, you can't go far.
Okay, it's 10 years already, like we said at the beginning of the program, and what can we do as people? And of course, we cannot exonerate government in this case, so that next year we will not come back again and repeat what we have said today.
Well, I think well, the first thing is to pray, contrary to what people think. I do believe it. The first thing is to pray. But
well, sometimes even if you have to pray, you have to take some actions.
Exactly.
That's
but immediately
reality.
after the prayer, you take actions, because that one, I think we just call God into it as well, so that it's not just us. Let God even take his own responsibility in this matter. So we call God into it and put it to God then. But we need to take concrete action. That's why I say so. I would suggest a few things. Coordinated community engagement. By community, I mean not state actors, families, friends, or people who care about it, to say, what can I do for you? I want to throw an appeal, since we're here now, to people. If you're watching this program and you have any idea on how to help these people, put it together and let's talk and see how it can be done. Anything that can help them. If you think maybe this is what they need to be doing. It could be advocacy, it could be engagement, it could be finance, it could be a road plan, it could be accountability of government. Let's even go and find out inside government, who are the people in charge of Chibok Girls matter? And then let's bring them to you to say, look, what have you done so far? And it's not even just to fight them, because there's a tendency for people to think that when you engage government, you're either asking for something from them or you're fighting them because you don't support them.
Do you believe in the payment of ransom?
In the payment of ransom, so let's leave aside what I believe. Let's put it this way. When something like that happens, okay, let's go back to what I believe, actually. I think nothing is off the table. If somebody takes my child, I'll do anything to get my child back. That's what we need to start from. I try to lead my life in the way that whatever I can do for myself, for my family, is the way I'll do for other people. Whether they're my students or my staff, I don't differentiate. I think that it makes life easier, so you have only one part. So here's the thing. In case of kidnapping, nothing should be off the table. But there's a side to it. The state, the government, cannot be seen to be condoning ransom, to be saying, we're going to deal with you. So the state is forced to be a liar. The state has to say no to ransom, but behind they can do anything they want, and we should not question that. But that mistrust, it's a bit like when you go to church and the pastors always say no to adultery, but you ask them how many brides have been virgins since the last time they've done it. They know that, but they just get on with it. They just have to say it. That's the way it is. But it is not just a lie. Here's the point. There's a more technical thing to it. Kidnapping is not just about taking people away and returning them. The state can be strategic. If or not to pay ransom, getting the people back is one step. That is one part of the battle. You can still go after kidnappers even after they've released the people. So what that tells you is that even if you pay ransom, you can get them later, because kidnapping is divided into 3 or 4 stages in strategic studies. We look at it. Stage 1 is planning, stage 2 is implementation, stage 3 is success, then stage 4 is get away with it to go and live a life. So at those 4 steps, the state can intercept people. Either when they're planning it, or when they're holding the people when you go and free them, or even after you lure them to return them, then you wait for them in the future, like revenge that is served cold. Once you identify them, they're not safe again. And this technology, follow their lives. Let it be said that somebody who kidnapped 2 years ago, 2 months ago, 15 years ago was arrested today. That is what we send signal to people, that you can never get away with those kind of things.
Okay. Two questions I'd like to lump into one before we allow you to go this morning, Prof. And that's the role data plays when it comes to issues like this. And so even in, this situation, we've heard there are still 89 girls in captivity, there's still 91 girls in captivity, there's still 97 girls in captivity. So in all of this, you're not even sure how many girls are still there. And so importance of data when it comes to security and safety issues generally, and I know that yes, we're not there, we do not have a database, and so how much of this should we begin to take into cognizance going forward? That's one. Then 2, I'd like for you to also give your own interpretation into what happened on Saturday in Oyo State. Now that we're gradually having some people now wanting to fight for the Yoruba race. And so what should the state actors, government be doing now to nip this in the bud? So 2 questions rolled into one before we allow you go.
Yes, okay, let's deal with the data question first. I think we need to have a sense of disgust and allergy when petty things happen to us. We should not be numb. We need to agree that not being able to say this is the number of people that has been kidnapped is unacceptable. Because, there are some people in this country who are experts of turning the simple into complicated for the purpose of obtaining nothing. It should not be very difficult for a school, a number of people involved, to say these are the people we do not see. Why should it be so? I know we have data problem, but let's not turn it to one kind of big problem. This is a school. This is a house. How many children do you have? How many do you not see? That should not be. You don't need a computer to do that. So I suspect mischief, or I suspect some kind of unnecessary bad thing going on there. That is not a difficult thing to solve. We just need to get it right. But I think overall, we need to understand that data is important, and it's something that we need to manage. But I suspect, and let's go anthropological here, I suspect that there's something alien to our culture, our upbringing, about embracing data. As I said it, I want viewers to think of themselves. How many of you filled feedback forms? There's something about us that we don't do it. We click go next, and even students, workers, people, those who go to trainings, give people feedback forms to fill. Their instinct is not to fill it. So we're not data friendly. Maybe the school need to help us with that. And amazing, that's an important thing here. So we need to really embrace that. Well, let's be careful. This Yoruba agitator thing. I do not believe that thing we saw in Oyo State in Ibadan represents the spirit of people who want the Yoruba nation. I think that is a beep. That is a deviation from the man of current, and it's to be treated that way. Unlike other people, I think it is legitimate to question the oneness of Nigeria. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I think it is legitimate to say the way this country is not acceptable. I think Nigeria is not a one-state nation. I think Nigeria is a union of nations, and I think there's nothing wrong in being different what is important is that we have integrity and we respect the law. Our diversity is not our problem. It is those who exploit our diversity for personal interest that cause problem, or frustrated people who just hate other people because they're different from them. That the diversity is a richness, it's not a problem. It will be a joy for us to embrace it. I think those who believe that we should remain as this one big nation, state nation, the way it is, people should check the difference between state and nation. People who believe in state nation should convince others that we're better off the way we are. And the people who don't should make their case so that we have a very civil, calm conversation.
What channel should they follow? Should it be constitutional amendments or restructuring of the country?
Yes, those are possible channels. There could be constitutional amendments. I was a part of the move of the Patriot asking for constitutional amendments in this country. Actually, we're asking for a new constitution totally, to say, let's have a people constitution in which we sit down and say, this is the way we want Nigeria to be. This is the way we want to work. This is the kind of Nigeria we want. It could be that, or the parliamentarians could come forward to amend some things. But I think rather than forcing people not to say it, it will be inside their mind, and their tummy, their heart will be rotting, and then they will be smiling in the face. It's better for people to let it out. And if you let people talk about it, not in a violent way, let people know that there's no problem. You can come around and say, no, I want Nigeria to break up. And it's, oh, God forbid. No. If you believe, say it, then you will come up with a superior argument. You say, look, don't want that. There are reasons for Nigeria to stay one. Big markets, easy border, oneness of the nation, population. There are reasons to be made. But there are also reasons to say, let's go for a confederation, let's go for a regional state, let's go for a more federal state, so that we can grow separately. There are very strong cases. It is just about being articulate at our point without resorting to violence. Whatever people do, I am against violence. Not because I'm afraid of it, but because it's not worth anything. Every life, there's nothing worth losing anybody's life for.
Okay, if you were to give a message to the families of those who still do not have their girls back, what would be that message this morning?
Well, I should say on behalf of the rest of Nigeria, we're sorry that we failed you. On behalf of the whole leadership, academic, political, economic, community leadership, media, let's put you too. Media and all kind of leadership, we failed you, we're sorry. But don't lose hope. Engage more, think outside the box, try to put your destiny in your own hand, seek for help, and see what you can do, and insist. And don't give up.
All right, we'll have to leave the conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Professor Anthony Kila, Director, Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS. Thank you so much for your time.
Good to be here.
Program today. All right, we've heard you.